The palace of Zintra shimmered like a dream above the valley, each tower carved from living crystal that caught the starlight of Andromeda and scattered it into endless colors. To humans it would have seemed unreal, but to the Volari, this was home, a civilization built not only on intellect, but on emotion itself. They were a race whose very bodies reflected feeling, skin shifting in subtle shades of jade and emerald, hair glowing faintly silver when their hearts were strong. Their cities pulsed with light when joy was high, dimmed when grief touched them. To live Volari was to live honestly, for their world revealed every emotion without disguise. At the center of this radiance lay Princess Lara. Youngest daughter of Emperor Dralin and Empress Maria, she was beloved by her people for her compassion and daring. Unlike her elder siblings who stayed bound by protocol, Lara wandered among gardens and starlit plazas, speaking with children, touching the sick, laughing with the poor. She believed love was the greatest power the Volari possessed. Now she lay pale upon a crystal bed, her light fading. Weeks earlier, she had absorbed the corrupted energy of a collapsing star core to save an evacuation fleet. The infection spread inside her, twisting her luminous veins to gray. Healers had tried everything: songs of harmony, elixirs distilled from nebulae, even the fire of the sacred moon. Nothing worked. In the grand hall, the royal family gathered, their auras dim. Outside, whispers echoed through Zintra: if their brightest star could not be saved, what hope remained for Volari itself? The galaxy waited, unaware that fate was already moving toward Zintra, carrying with it a stranger from Earth. The halls of Zintra, usually alive with music and laughter, had fallen into a heavy silence. The crystalline walls glowed faintly, not with the vibrant greens and blues of harmony, but with the dull gray of sorrow. Every corridor carried the same unspoken truth: Princess Lara, the heart of their people, was slipping away. In the throne chamber, Emperor Dralin sat rigid upon his seat, hands clenched tight. His emerald skin had dulled, his aura dimmed to a weary haze. He was known across the stars as a warrior king, but now he looked only like a father unable to fight the battle that mattered most. Beside him, Empress Maria whispered prayers to the wells of emotion, her silver hair flickering like a dying flame. The royal healers knelt before them, heads bowed in shame. We have tried every harmony song, every crystal alignment. Her light rejects all balance. It is as if the corruption devours the melody itself. The emperor's voice broke through the silence: then we are helpless. The words struck harder than any enemy fleet. For the Volari, whose very existence was tied to hope, such despair was poison. Courtiers looked away, unwilling to meet one another's eyes. Beyond the palace walls, the people of Zintra gathered in plazas, their collective glow dimming in shared grief. Murmurs spread to the stars themselves: if the princess who embodied compassion could not be saved, what chance did the Volari have against the growing shadow of the Craxian warlords? Yet destiny often stirs when despair reaches its deepest point. Unbeknownst to them, far beyond their skies, a fragile human craft drifted toward Andromeda, carrying a man whose touch would change everything. Across the cold void of space, a battered research vessel drifted silently, its systems flickering. Inside, Theo Renner sat slumped against the console, muttering to himself as alarms blinked in red. He had been charting gravitational anomalies near Saturn when the wormhole appeared, an impossible storm of light and force. His ship had been dragged through like a leaf in a hurricane. Now he floated somewhere uncharted, stars arranged in strange constellations. The sensors gave nonsense readings, as though the very laws of physics were altered. His hoodie was torn, glasses cracked, but he was alive, barely. Great, he muttered, lost in space. Mom always said I'd forget the exit on the highway. This is a little worse. Then came the glow. A formation of crystalline ships emerged, shaped like wings of glass. They surrounded his vessel, beams of emerald light holding it steady. Theo staggered to the viewport. Figures shimmered aboard the largest craft, tall, radiant, their skin glowing with colors like living gemstones. Before he could protest, the beings pulled him aboard with a soft pulse of energy. He collapsed onto polished floors that glowed faintly beneath his weight. Dozens of alien eyes studied him. Their languages rang like chords, melodic yet incomprehensible. But then one word echoed clear, translated through a hovering crystal: human. Theo raised a trembling hand in half a wave. "Ah, hi. I come in peace." Mostly. The Volari were silent. To them, he was a curiosity, a fragile stranger plucked from the stars. None yet knew this awkward man would soon hold the fate of their princess, and their entire world, in his hands. The corridors of Zintra hummed with whispers as Theo was escorted through the palace. 2 guards, their armor carved from luminous stone, flanked him like silent statues. Everywhere he looked, eyes followed Volari nobles and servants staring at the strange human in his scuffed sneakers and torn hoodie. Finally, the doors of the healing chamber opened. Inside, the air shimmered with delicate harmonics, as if the walls themselves were sighing. At the center lay Princess Lara, her once vibrant emerald skin pale, her silver hair dim. Crystals pulsed faintly around her bed, trying in vain to keep her fading light stable. Theo froze. She looked fragile, breathtaking, alien yet heartbreakingly human in her stillness. "Why am I here?" he whispered. The Empress's voice was soft but steady. "Because no one else remains. Sit beside her, stranger. Touch her hand. We must know." Theo's mouth went dry. "Wait, hold on, what exactly am I supposed to?" "Do it," commanded Emperor Dralin, his tone sharp as a blade. Nervously, Theo stepped forward. He knelt by the bed, his fingers trembling. With a hesitant breath, he reached out and touched her hand. At once, light surged. Lara gasped, her chest rising with sudden breath. Her veins glowed bright emerald again, the gray corruption retreating. The crystals above sang in resonance, flooding the chamber with color. The royal family stumbled back, eyes wide. The Empress covered her mouth, tears glittering. Even the Emperor's stern mask cracked. Theo stared in shock. I didn't do anything." But the Volari knew the truth, something ancient had awoken. The human's touch had broken despair itself. The chamber was chaos. Courtiers shouted, guards gripped their spears of light, and the air rang with disbelief. Only Lara remained still, her eyes fluttering open for the first time in weeks. A faint glow returned to her skin, and she looked at the stranger kneeling by her side. "Who are you?" she whispered, voice raw but alive. Theo blinked, words tumbling out awkwardly. Theo. Just Theo. I'm really not supposed to be here. Actually, I was aiming for Saturn." The Empress knelt, tears glistening. "He has awakened her. The law is clear." A hush fell. The Emperor rose, his aura crackling with authority. "The law of the ancestors states, only one bound in true affection may restore a dying heart. By touching her, the human has forged the bond. And the bond demands union." Theo's jaw dropped. "Union? As in, marriage union?" "Whoa, wait. On Earth we don't look, we don't even hug strangers this fast." Prince Varlin smirked. "Seems your first hug nearly saved our sister's life. Imagine what marriage might do." Laughter rippled among some nobles, while others scowled. To them, a fragile off-worlder binding with their princess was an insult. Theo held up his hands. "There's gotta be some mistake. I'm not chosen, I'm not worthy. I'm just a scientist who once got lost inside his own lab coat." But the crystals above pulsed brighter, confirming the bond. Lara looked at him with wonder, as if seeing not just the awkward man but the thread of fate tied between them. The Emperor's voice sealed it, "Prepare him. The trial of unity awaits." Theo's protests earned him no escape. By dawn, he found himself in a chamber glowing with amber light, face to face with a small floating sphere. The crystal hummed, then projected a holographic figure, round, cheerful, with exaggerated gestures. "I am Blip, instructor of Union Customs," it announced in a voice far too excited for Theo's mood. "Congratulations, human. You are to wed our beloved princess. Training begins now." Theo groaned. "I don't even know her middle name." Lesson 1, Blip continued, ignoring him. The dance of binding. Holographic figures twirled gracefully, their bodies weaving glowing patterns in the air. Each step aligns your aura. If you misstep, you will collapse. Possibly explode. Theo paled. Explode? No pressure. Hours blurred into chaos. He stumbled through complex gestures, tripping over his own feet while Glip scolded, left arm radiant, not limp like boiled root. Valari attendants peeked through the doors, stifling laughter. Then came the ritual of nectar. Theo was handed a goblet that glowed faintly. He sniffed it and coughed. "This smells like mango mixed with battery acid." "Drink," Glip commanded. Theo sipped and promptly gagged, earning more suppressed chuckles from the attendants. By evening, his muscles ached, his pride shattered. Yet something surprising lingered, curiosity. For every odd ritual, there was beauty, patterns of light that resonated with his heartbeat, songs that seemed to answer emotions he barely understood. As he collapsed onto his borrowed bed, Theo muttered, "This is insane. But if this is the only way to keep her alive, maybe it's worth learning." Outside, the stars of Zintra pulsed softly, as though listening. Night fell gently over Zintra, twin moons bathing the palace gardens in silver light. Theo was led through archways of crystal and into a secluded courtyard where the air itself seemed hushed. The Garden of Whispers lived up to its name. Flowers glowed faintly, releasing soft chimes whenever touched by the wind. Lara was already there, sitting on a stone bench that pulsed with living light. Her white hair tumbled loose over her shoulders, her jade skin still pale from her illness, yet her golden eyes shone like fire. "You came," she said, her voice fragile but melodic. Theo shifted awkwardly, tugging at the shimmering robe that still changed colors with his mood. "Yeah. I figured running away wasn't an option." She smiled faintly. "You could have left me to die. But you didn't." He hesitated, then sat beside her. "Back on Earth, I lost someone. My sister. I couldn't save her. When I saw you lying there, fading, I just couldn't let it happen again." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Only the flowers sang. Then Lara's hand brushed his. "You're strange," she murmured. "So fragile, yet you carry hope like a torch." Theo laughed nervously. "You make me sound braver than I am. Honestly, I'm terrified." "Good," she whispered. "So am I." They sat together under the moons, not as savior and princess, not as alien and human, but as two souls learning to listen. The garden seemed to lean closer, as if the planet itself approved. For the first time, Theo felt less like an intruder and more like he belonged. The peace of Zintra shattered with a single alarm. Sirens wailed across the crystalline spires, their tones vibrating through every wall, every bridge, every soul. Theo jolted awake, dragged from uneasy dreams by the palace trembling beneath him. Red light pulsed along the corridors. Guards rushed past, armor glowing, weapons primed. From the balconies, the night sky burned, jagged black ships tore through the heavens, emerging from behind the third moon like predators from shadow. The Craxians, Prince Corin growled, ice hard as steel. "We thought them broken. We were wrong." Theo stumbled into the war chamber, still clutching the robe he hadn't learned to wear properly. His voice cracked. Wait, Craxians? Who are they? Emperor Drollin's expression was grim. A people who despise emotion. They see love as weakness. They will try to erase what you and Lara have awakened. Theo's stomach dropped. Him? He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't even sure which way to hold one of their weapons. But then he caught sight of Lara, standing tall despite her recent recovery, armor laced with golden light, her eyes burning with determination. They're coming for me, she said softly. For us. If they destroy our bond, they weaken all Volari. The palace shook again, explosions rippling through the eastern wing. From the observatory, fire streaked across the horizon. Zintra was under siege. Theo's heart pounded in his ears. He had wanted adventure, but this was war. And for the first time, he realized that surviving in this world meant more than equations. It meant choosing to fight, even if all he had was heart. The palace corridors became rivers of panic. Crystalline walls shuddered under bombardment, showering sparks of fractured light as guards clashed with invading Craxians. The air filled with the hiss of plasma blades, the crack of energy rifles, and the screams of terrified servants rushing for safety. Theo ran, pulled by Lara's hand through clouds of smoke. He stumbled over fallen shards of glass, nearly falling flat before she yanked him upright. Stay close, she commanded, her golden eyes glowing even brighter in the chaos. I'm not built for this. Theo shouted, ducking as a beam scorched the wall inches from his head. I'm a scientist, not. Not what? Lara snapped, blocking a Craxian soldier with a burst of green-gold light that sent him sprawling. Not brave? Because running beside me right now proves otherwise. Everywhere, the Volari royal family fought with fury. Prince Varlin clashed blades with a hulking captain atop a floating bridge, their strikes ringing like thunder. Corrin hacked into the enemy signals, sowing confusion in their ranks. Empress Mariah and Drolin unleashed devastating waves of emotion energy, bending entire squads to their knees. But the Craxians pressed forward, single-minded. Their target was clear, Lara. Theo's chest tightened with fear, but he refused to let go of her hand. They darted through a collapsing archway just as it fell, sparks and dust raining down. Behind them, Craxian war cries echoed. This is insane. Theo gasped. Lara glanced at him, fire in her eyes. No. This is destiny, and we face it together. And together, they ran deeper into the heart of the palace, toward the storm center. Smoke and fire trailed them as Lara pulled Theo through a set of collapsing gates. Beyond lay the core chamber, a vast, circular hall where the very heartbeat of Zintra resided. At its center floated the Heartstone, a towering crystal pulsing with golden green light, each thrum echoing the emotions of generations past. Theo stopped dead. The air here felt alive, thick with energy that buzzed across his skin. What is this place?" he whispered. "The soul of my people," Lara answered, her voice heavy with reverence. "If the Craxians corrupt it, Zintra dies." But they weren't alone. Shadows unfurled near the crystal as the Craxians stepped forward. Their leader towered above them all, General Vrax, a brute of muscle and machinery, his cybernetic arm glowing with cruel energy. His red eyes locked instantly onto Theo. "So," Vrax sneered, his voice metallic thunder, "this is the fragile creature who dares call himself her bond." Theo's pulse spiked. He wanted to shrink back, but Lara moved in front of him, her aura blazing. "Leave him," she growled. "This fight is with me." Vrax raised his cannon, charging it with a screeching hum. "No, princess. Your bond threatens the order of the galaxy. Destroying him destroys you." Theo's knees trembled, yet something inside him hardened. For the first time, he stepped forward, placing himself between Lara and the weapon. His voice shook but did not break. "Then you'll have to go through me first." A deadly silence fell. The battle for the Heartstone and for their bond was about to ignite. The Heartstone pulsed faster, as if sensing the tension filling the chamber. Theo's breath came ragged, his hands shaking, but still he stood between Lara and the Craxian general. Vrax's cannon roared to life, glowing with violet red energy. "Foolish human," he snarled. "Your heart cannot stop power." Theo swallowed hard. He knew he couldn't fight like the Volari, couldn't wield blades of light or waves of emotion. But he remembered Lara's words, heart was the most dangerous weapon of all. The blast fired. Time slowed. Theo didn't think. He moved. The cannon's energy slammed into his chest. Agony seared through him, tearing a cry from his lips as he collapsed to the crystal floor. The chamber gasped with a sound that was not mere air but the echo of every Volari soul. Lara fell beside him, her scream breaking like glass. "Theo!" She pressed her hands over the wound, her aura blazing with desperation. Tears streaked her glowing skin. "No, not you, not now." Then it happened. Her power surged, but this time it wasn't only hers. From Theo's fading body, a faint pink glow emerged, mingling with her golden green light. Their energies braided together, stronger, brighter, unstoppable. The Heartstone responded. It blazed with a brilliance that shook the walls, sending shockwaves through the chamber. Vrax staggered back, shielding his eyes. Theo coughed, his voice weak but certain. "Guess, the bond works both ways." And in that moment, as their lights merged into one, the dying scientist and the alien princess became something far greater, a force the galaxy had not seen in millennia. The chamber erupted in light. The combined glow of Lara and Theo rose like a star reborn, flooding every corner with warmth and sound. It wasn't fire, nor lightning, but something deeper, pure emotion, amplified by the bond between two souls. The Heartstone drank in their power and released it in a tidal wave. Crystalline walls sang, their tones harmonizing with the very pulse of the planet. Craxian soldiers staggered, weapons falling from their hands as the surge swept through them. Their minds, trained to suppress all feeling, were suddenly torn open. Rage gave way to sorrow. Hatred cracked into fear. For the first time in generations, they felt. Screams of confusion echoed as the invaders dropped to their knees, clutching at their chests. One by one, they collapsed, unable to withstand the flood of empathy. General Vrax resisted, his cybernetic frame sparking under the weight of the energy. "No," he roared, firing his cannon wildly. But the blast dissolved in midair, unraveled by the harmony around it. His knees buckled as the wave broke him, forcing him to the ground. His red eyes burned with something foreign, tears. Lara held Theo close, her aura blazing with his faint pink glow braided into hers. "The Zwanvra," she whispered. "The twin pulse. It's real." Theo, pale but alive, managed a weak smile. "Guess we're history makers." The Heartstone pulsed once more, then steadied. The invasion was over. Zintra still stood, scarred but unbroken. And at its core were not just rulers or warriors, but two unlikely souls whose love had become a weapon of salvation. The fires of battle dimmed with the dawn. Zintra's spires, though cracked and scarred, still stood against the pale sky. Repair drones buzzed through shattered arches while workers wove new light threads into broken bridges. The city hummed, bruised but alive. Inside the royal chambers, silence reigned. Theo lay on a levitating bed, his shoulder wrapped in shimmering salves that pulsed faintly blue. The wound left by Vrax's cannon was deep, too alien for Volari healers to fully mend. They whispered he should not have survived. And yet, his chest rose and fell, steady as a drumbeat. Lara never left his side. She held his hand, her golden eyes rimmed with exhaustion but soft with relief. She remembered the moment he had stepped before the blast, the way he had chosen her without hesitation. It played over and over in her mind, searing her heart with equal parts terror and wonder. When Theo stirred at last, blinking at the filtered sunlight, his first words were clumsy, whispered. "Am I glowing?" She laughed through her tears. "A little. Maybe the Heartstone decided to keep part of you." He lifted a shaky hand to touch the faint pink shimmer that danced along his skin. "So I'm changing?" "Not changing," Lara said softly. "Becoming. The bond is shaping you, as it shapes me." Theo exhaled, half-smile tugging at his lips. "Guess I'm stuck with you then." Her grip tightened. "Forever, Earthman." And for the first time since the invasion, Lara let herself believe peace might truly be possible. Peace did not last long. Though the Craxians had been repelled, the palace was filled with a different kind of storm whispers. Nobles gathered in crystalline halls, voices sharp as blades. Some praised Theo as a savior, others spat his name like poison. "The bond is dangerous," one elder hissed. "It ties our fate to an outsider." "Without him, the princess would be ashes," another countered. The debate reached the Emperor's council. Drollin's face was carved from stone, unreadable, but his voice carried the weight of judgment. The law of the ancestors cannot be ignored. If their bond is true, it must withstand the trial of unity. Theo, still weak from his wounds, felt his stomach sink. Trial? As in, another word for public execution? Lara squeezed his hand firmly. "It is not punishment. It is proof. We must show the galaxy that what we share is not chance, but destiny." Theo muttered, "I was kind of hoping for a simple blood test." Varlin smirked from across the chamber. "Oh no, human. This trial is far older, far crueler. Survive it, and none can question you. Fail, and Zintra will bury you as a lesson." The words chilled him, but as Lara turned to meet his gaze, Theo saw no fear in her eyes, only certainty. "We face it together," she whispered. Theo swallowed hard. "Yeah. Together." Far above them, the Heartstone pulsed, as if already preparing to witness the truth. The palace halls glowed with soft evening light, but behind the shimmer of crystal, shadows stirred. Not everyone welcomed the survival of the human or the bond he shared with their princess. In a secluded chamber beneath the spires, a circle of nobles gathered around a blackened flame. Their robes bore the insignias of ancient houses, proud and bitter. "This cannot continue," one spat. "A fragile outsider dares to stand where Volari kings once stood." Another slammed his fist on the stone table. "The trial of unity will expose him. No human can endure the depths of the test." But if he somehow survives, his voice trailed off, heavy with disgust. A woman cloaked in silver leaned forward. Her voice was silk, sharp as glass. "Then we ensure he does not." Silence stretched. Then, one by one, the others nodded. Plans whispered into being, bribes to trial keepers, sabotage woven into rituals, and rumors crafted to poison trust. They would not strike Theo openly, instead, they would let the trial become his grave. Meanwhile, unaware of the plotting, Theo and Lara walked the moonlit gardens above. She spoke of traditions he did not understand, laughter soft as wind chimes, while he stumbled over alien words, earning her patient smile. Yet beneath the serenity, Lara's instincts twitched. She felt eyes upon them, not of love but of envy. Theo, oblivious, pointed to the stars. "See that cluster? On Earth, we call it Orion. It always made me feel small. But here, standing with you, I feel infinite. Lara smiled, but unease lingered in her golden gaze. The storm was already gathering. The nights before the trial were restless. Theo tossed on his bed, dreams filled with fire and whispers of failure. Each dawn he woke more certain he would not survive. Then, one evening, as he wandered the silent halls, a voice rasped from the shadows. "You walk like prey, human. That must change." Theo spun around. An old Volare stepped into the light, cloak ragged, eyes glowing faint silver. His skin bore scars etched deep, and his aura flickered with the weight of countless battles. "Who are you?" Theo asked warily. "I was once called Kaler, Keeper of Unity. Exiled now. Forgotten. But I still know the paths of the trial." Theo blinked. "And you just volunteered to help? Out of kindness?" Kaler chuckled darkly. "Not kindness. Balance. If you fail, chaos will follow. Zintra cannot afford chaos." Training began in secret. Kaler taught him how to harness the flicker of aura awakened during the Heartstone surge. "It is not about strength of body," he explained, guiding Theo's trembling hands. "It is about letting your emotions flow without drowning in them. Rage is fuel, but love is anchor." Theo stumbled, often collapsing from exhaustion. Yet each night, he rose again. Slowly, sparks of pink light steadied at his fingertips. "You learn clumsily," Kaler muttered. "But you learn." For the first time, Theo felt a fragile thread of hope. But as Kaler dismissed him, the old warrior's eyes lingered. He sensed shadows moving beyond the chamber, other forces plotting against his pupil. The trial would not be fair. The Hall of Ancestors was silent, lit only by the glow of the Heartstone's reflection. Thousands gathered in the balconies above, nobles and citizens alike, their whispers echoing like waves. At the chamber's center stood two figures, Theo and Lara, hands clasped, facing the archway that shimmered with living light. "The trial of unity begins," intoned the High Keeper. His staff struck the floor with a resonant chime. "Step forth, and be judged." Theo's heart hammered. Sweat dampened his palms, but Lara's steady grip anchored him. Together, they stepped into the archway. Instantly, the world dissolved. They stood in a vast expanse of shifting light, colors rippling like water. From the void emerged towering forms, phantoms shaped from their deepest fears. Theo froze as one materialized into his sister's face, pale and fading. "You couldn't save me," the phantom whispered, reaching out with accusing hands. He staggered back, guilt crushing him like stone. Lara caught his arm. "Look at me," she urged, her voice sharp but kind. "She is memory, not truth. You saved me, Theo. You can save yourself." Theo clenched his jaw, forcing himself to meet the phantom's eyes. The weight of failure didn't vanish, but it loosened enough for him to breathe. The vision cracked apart, dissolving into sparks. Another phantom loomed before Lara, her parents' lifeless forms, victims of an old battle. Her aura flickered, but Theo squeezed her hand this time. "We're stronger together. Don't let it break you." The figures dissolved. The archway pulsed. The first gate had been crossed. Above, nobles gasped. Few had expected the human to survive even this far. The light shifted again, and the vast void melted into a narrow bridge of crystal suspended over endless darkness. Winds howled from below, carrying whispers that clawed at the mind. Theo gripped Lara's hand tighter, knuckles white. "This is the second gate," Lara murmured. Her voice wavered, though her eyes stayed fixed ahead. "The trial of trust. At the far end of the bridge stood two doors, identical yet glowing with different colors, one silver, one gold. A voice, deep and ancient, thundered across the chasm. Only one may pass. Choose who walks forward, and who falls. Theo's breath caught. Falls? As in forever? The voice offered no answer, only silence heavy as stone. Lara stepped forward immediately. I will go. If you fall, the bond ends and Zintra loses its hope. My path has always been sacrifice. No, Theo said sharply, grabbing her arm. His chest tightened at the thought of her vanishing into the abyss. You've carried this world on your shoulders long enough. If someone falls, it's me. She turned to him, eyes blazing. Don't you dare. You are my bond, Theo. Without you, I am nothing but duty. For a heartbeat, they argued with nothing but their gazes, emotions colliding like storms. Then Theo did the only thing that felt right. He pulled her close, whispering, "We don't play by their rules. We make our own." Together, they stepped forward, side by side. The bridge trembled violently, but instead of shattering, it transformed into solid light, merging the two doors into one. The trial had not expected defiance. Yet their unity forged a new path. The light shifted again, and the vast void melted into a narrow bridge of crystal suspended over endless darkness. Winds howled from below, carrying whispers that clawed at the mind. Theo gripped Lara's hand tighter, knuckles white. "This is the second gate," Lara murmured. Her voice wavered, though her eyes stayed fixed ahead. The trial of trust. At the far end of the bridge stood two doors, identical yet glowing with different colors, one silver, one gold. A voice, deep and ancient, thundered across the chasm. Only one may pass. Choose who walks forward, and who falls. Theo's breath caught. Falls? As in forever? The voice offered no answer, only silence heavy as stone. Lara stepped forward immediately. I will go. If you fall, the bond ends and Zintra loses its hope. My path has always been sacrifice. No, Theo said sharply, grabbing her arm. His chest tightened at the thought of her vanishing into the abyss. You've carried this world on your shoulders long enough. If someone falls, it's me. She turned to him, eyes blazing. Don't you dare. You are my bond, Theo. Without you, I am nothing but duty. For a heartbeat, they argued with nothing but their gazes, emotions colliding like storms. Then Theo did the only thing that felt right. He pulled her close, whispering, "We don't play by their rules. We make our own." Together, they stepped forward, side by side. The bridge trembled violently, but instead of shattering, it transformed into solid light, merging the two doors into one. The trial had not expected defiance. Yet their unity forged a new path. The brilliance of the shattered illusions faded, revealing the heart grove once more. Above, the two soul crystals spun wildly before merging into a single radiant sphere, green-gold entwined with pale human light. A chorus of vibrations echoed through the chamber, so pure that even the walls seemed to sing. The gates of the maze dissolved, opening onto the waiting world. When Theo and Lara stepped forward, hand in hand, a tidal wave of cheers shook the heavens. Thousands of Volari filled the viewing terraces, their auras glowing in unison. Even the distant ambassadors, watching through shimmering holograms, bowed their heads. Empress Maria's eyes shimmered with tears. The bond is proven. The cosmos itself has crowned them. From the highest platform, an elder carried forward the unity crown, a circlet of woven crystal strands, pulsing faintly with emotional energy. Tradition demanded it be placed only when two souls had passed every trial. With solemn grace, Emperor Dralin lifted the crown, his stern face softened with awe. By the stars of our ancestors, he declared, voice booming, by the law of the first tongue, and by the witness of all gathered, I place upon you the crown of unity. You are bound, not as ruler and stranger, but as halves of one whole. He lowered the glowing circlet onto both their joined hands. At the moment of contact, the crown dissolved into pure light and wrapped itself around their hearts, invisible yet eternal. Lara's eyes found Theo's. No words were needed. The bond had been sealed before the galaxy itself. The twin moons of Zintra rose high, draping the crystalline palace in rivers of silver fire. Across the spire of voices, millions gathered, Volari nobles, distant ambassadors, and even common folk who filled the sky in floating platforms. It was said no wedding in 1,000 cycles had drawn such a crowd. Theo stood at Lara's side, his robe woven anew from starlight threads. He tugged nervously at the shifting fabric, which betrayed his emotions by flaring orange with anxiety. Lara only smiled, her hand brushing his. Breathe, she whispered. Tonight is not about fear. It is about choosing. The ceremony began with the binding dance. Lara led, her steps graceful as flowing water, while Theo stumbled once, twice, until instinct carried him. Together they moved, awkwardness melting into rhythm. Their synchronized motion sent waves of light across the platform, drawing gasps from the onlookers. Then came the nectar of shared breath, shimmering liquid in a crystal vial. Theo nearly choked, spluttering as sparks flared around him, but Lara steadied him with laughter, pressing a soft kiss to his cheek. You're doing fine, she whispered, and somehow he believed her. Finally, they stood before the spire's edge. No priests spoke. No scrolls were read. Instead, they gave their vows, unprepared, raw. I choose you, Theo said, his voice shaking yet firm. Not because the stars demand it, but because my heart does. And I choose you, Lara replied, golden eyes glowing, not despite our differences, but because of them. At their words, the spire erupted with light. Their auras merged into one beam that shot into the heavens, a signal of love so powerful it could be seen across worlds. Years passed, yet the night of the wedding of light was still spoken of in songs and etched into crystal murals across Zintra. Peace, fragile at first, had blossomed into something enduring. The Craxians, once sworn enemies, now sent envoys not with weapons but with gifts. Neighboring systems sought counsel in Zintra, for the love that had united human and Volari had become a symbol greater than any treaty. Theo never became the conqueror some expected. He remained awkward, still spilling nectar on ceremonial robes, still mispronouncing ancient words, once accidentally declaring the Festival of Potatoes, which the people celebrated anyway. His imperfection became his strength. To the galaxy, he was not an untouchable monarch but someone real, someone who stumbled yet kept standing. Lara, radiant and wise, stood as the green flame queen, her compassion turning former rivals into allies. She believed no one could hate another once they had heard their sorrow, and she proved it, time and again. Together they raised a family in a valley of singing winds, where crystal flowers chimed and rivers glowed at night. Their children, 7 in all, were living proof of a bond that had rewritten destiny. Some carried Volari gifts of empathy, others Theo's curiosity and inventiveness, each one extraordinary in ways that defied old boundaries. At night, beneath the twin moons, Theo would tell Earth's fairy tales while Lara wove starlight into the endings, and their children laughed until the valley echoed. And somewhere above, the universe smiled. For love unexpected, imperfect, unshakable, had once more changed the stars.